From the legendary Walnut Room in Chicago to the soaring monorails of Atlanta, we're stepping back into retail's golden age, and you'll want to stay with us until the end, because we're going to reveal the department store that actually invented one of the most famous Christmas characters in history, not for a Hollywood movie, but for a simple, humble coloring book. Let's travel across the states and find our favorite meeting spots. Number 1. Bullock's, Wilshire, California. We begin our journey on the West Coast, in the golden sunlight of Los Angeles, California. If you wanted to see the peak of Art Deco glamour, you went to Bullock's, Wilshire. Opened in 1929, it was the first store designed truly for the motor age. While other stores faced the sidewalk, Bullock's turned its back to the street, creating a magnificent rear entrance for valets to park the luxury cars of Hollywood's elite. Remember the desert-themed tea room on the 5th floor? It was the height of sophistication. You might be sipping your Darjeeling and look over to see Greta Garbo or a young Ronald Reagan at the next table. It wasn't just a shop, it was a movie set where you were the star. And who could forget Bullock's Barney, the life-size plaster horse in the sportswear department? For a grandmother in SoCal, a trip to Bullock's was a day spent in the presence of royalty. Number 2. Riches, Georgia. Heading southeast to Atlanta, Georgia, we find the cultural soul of the South, Riches. This wasn't just a business, it was a civic institution. During the Great Depression, when the city couldn't pay its teachers, Riches famously stepped in and accepted city scrip as cash to ensure the school system stayed afloat. But for us kids, the real magic happened on the roof. Do you remember Priscilla the Pink Pig? Riding that little monorail high above the downtown streets, looking out at the skyline while Priscilla's eyes twinkled. It didn't feel like the holiday season had truly arrived until you saw that pink pig flying through the Georgia air and sat down for a chicken salad sandwich in the Magnolia Room. Riches taught us that a store could be a neighbor, a friend, and a keeper of our family traditions. Number 3. Marshall Field & Company, Illinois. Traveling north to the windy city of Chicago, Illinois, we arrive at perhaps the most famous retail address in the world, Marshall Field & Company on State Street. Founded in 1852, Marshall Field pioneered the very idea of a personal shopper and the department store book signing. Their motto was simple but revolutionary: give the lady what she wants. Remember the first time you stepped into the Grand Court and looked up at that breathtaking Tiffany mosaic ceiling? It felt like standing inside a jewelry box. But the true heart of the store was the Walnut Room. Sitting under that 45-foot great tree at Christmas, eating Mrs. Herring's legendary chicken pot pie while a pianist played Silver Bells softly in the background. It wasn't just lunch, it was a rite of passage. And no trip was complete without a green box of Frango mints. The cool, dark chocolate and the snap of the mint, that was the taste of Chicago. Number 4. Montgomery Ward, Illinois. Also in Chicago, Illinois, was the giant that brought the city to the farm, Montgomery Ward. While we loved their physical stores, it was the big book catalog that made every child's heart race. But here is our open-loop payoff. In 1939, a Montgomery Ward copywriter named Robert L. May was asked to create a character for a promotional coloring book the store could give away to save money on licensing fees. That character? It was Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Long before the song or the beloved stop-motion movie, Rudolph was a Montgomery Ward creation. Every time you see that glowing red nose today, you're looking at a piece of department store history. It was a store that understood the power of a story, and for millions of grandmas, Monkey Ward was the reliable provider of everything from Sunday dresses to the very first refrigerator they ever owned. Number 5. Filene's and the Basement, Massachusetts. Moving to Boston, Massachusetts, we find a store that turned shopping into a competitive sport, Filene's. While the upper floors were full of Brahmin elegance, the real action was downstairs. Filene's Basement was the world's first automatic markdown system. If an item sat for 30 days, the price dropped. If it stayed for 60, it was practically free. Remember the running of the brides? Thousands of women, including maybe your own mother or grandmother, waiting in line all night just to scramble for a designer gown at 90% off. It was the original contact sport of retail. You'd see women trying on coats in the aisles, hunting through bins for a bargain, and coming home with a designer label for the price of a housecoat. It was chaotic, it was thrilling, and it was uniquely Boston. Number 6. J.L. Hudson's, Michigan. Now we head to Detroit, Michigan to visit a behemoth. For decades, J.L. Hudson's was the tallest department store in the world, standing 410 feet over Woodward Avenue. It was a city unto itself, with 32 floors, 705 fitting rooms, and its own hospital and post office. Remember the aisles of beauty on the ground floor? It felt like walking through a palace of crystal and light. And after a long afternoon of trying on school clothes, nothing hit the spot quite like a Maurice salad in the mezzanine restaurant. That signature lemony dressing, the fine shredded ham and turkey, and those impossibly fluffy popovers. Hudson's didn't just dominate the skyline, they dominated the calendar, sponsoring the Detroit Thanksgiving Parade and making sure every child in the city felt the magic of the season. Number 7. Dayton's, Minnesota. Heading to the Twin Cities of Minneapolis, Minnesota, we find the store that eventually gave birth to Target, Dayton's. But Dayton's was something far more magical than a modern big box store. They were legendary for their 8th-floor auditorium. Every year, it was transformed into a 13,000 square foot walk-through attraction. One year, it was a replica of Dickens' London. The next, it was a fairy tale forest. Do you remember the smell of the cinnamon-roasted nuts as you stood in that long line, shivering in your winter coat, waiting to see the display? And of course, there were the Santa bears. Collecting that year's plush bear was a holiday mandate. Dayton's understood that shopping was an emotional experience, one that lived in the Oak Room over a plate of popovers and honey butter. Number 8. B. Altman & Company, New York. Now we arrive in the retail capital of the world, New York City, New York. Our first stop is B. Altman & Company. Known for its quiet gentility, B. Altman was the first major store to move to Fifth Avenue, and it stayed there for nearly a century. It was run by a foundation that treated its employees like family, and that warmth extended to the customers. Do you remember the Charleston Garden? It was a marvel of interior design, a full-sized facade of a southern mansion built right inside the store. It was the most tranquil place in Manhattan to escape the noise, have tea, and enjoy delicate finger sandwiches. For a grandmother visiting the city, Altman's was a reminder that even in the heart of the world's busiest city, there was still room for a little bit of grace. Number 9. Gimbel's, New York. Just a few blocks away in New York City, New York, was the great rival, Gimbel's. For a century, the battle between Gimbel's and Macy's was the stuff of legend. While Macy's was the spectacle, Gimbel's was the store for the middle class, focusing on value and the famous slogan, "Nobody but nobody undersells Gimbel's." They actually founded the nation's first Thanksgiving parade in Philadelphia in 1920, 4 years before Macy's did. But if you were a New Yorker, you remember Gimbel's as the place where you could find anything, and where the service felt a little more personal, a little less rushed. It was the store that proved you didn't need to be the biggest to be the most beloved. Number 10. Lord & Taylor, New York. Our final New York City, New York stop is the oldest of them all, Lord & Taylor, founded in 1826. Lord & Taylor was a pioneer for women. In 1945, they made Dorothy Shaver the first woman to lead a major retail chain, and she transformed the store into a beacon of American style. Remember the birdcage tea room? It was a favorite of every grandmother who appreciated a bit of whimsy with her lunch. But Lord & Taylor's greatest gift to the city was the windows. Their animated holiday displays were so complex and beautiful that people would stand in line for 20 minutes in the freezing wind just to get a good look at the mechanical dolls and falling snow. It was a store that believed in the beauty of the detail. Number 11. John Wanamaker, Pennsylvania. Crossing into Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, We enter the store that John Wanamaker built as a monument to civic pride. He was a pioneer who established the first fixed-price policy, effectively ending the era of haggling in America. But for Philadelphians, Wanamaker's was defined by two things. First, the meeting spot. Meet me under the eagle. That massive bronze statue in the Grand Court was the heartbeat of the city. And second, the music. Can you still feel it? The floor vibrating as the Wanamaker organ, the world's largest, began its daily concert. To hear those deep bass notes while looking up at the Christmas light show was to experience something close to a religious event. It was a store that made you feel proud to be from Philadelphia. I have to know, what was your meeting spot at your favorite store? Was it under a specific clock, by a fountain, or at the Bronze Eagle? Tell us your memories in the comments below. I love reading where you all used to wait for your moms. Number 12. Kaufmann's, Pennsylvania. In the steel city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Kaufmann's was the undisputed king. Under the leadership of Edgar Kaufmann, the man who famously commissioned Frank Lloyd Wright to build Fallingwater, this store was a beacon of high design. If you were a Pittsburgher, you didn't need a map. You just said, "Meet me under the Kaufmann's clock." That four-faced bronze clock on the corner of 5th and Smithfield was the most romantic spot in the city. Remember sitting in the TikTok restaurant in your Mary Jane's or your best clip-on tie, waiting for the secret Santa to appear? Kaufmann's made the smoky city of Pittsburgh feel like a glamorous metropolis, one department at a time. Number 13. Strawbridge and Clothier, Pennsylvania. Back in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, we had the dignified Strawbridge and Clothier. Founded by Quakers, this store emphasized a seal of confidence, a logo depicting William Penn shaking hands with Native Americans. It was a store built on trust. Remember the Dickens Christmas Village on the 4th floor? You'd walk through 26 animatronic scenes of A Christmas Carol, the air smelling of old wood and holiday spice. It was a Philly tradition that made the store feel like old London. And of course, you had to rub the nose of the Il Porcellino boar statue for luck. Strawbridge's was where Grandma went for quality but stayed for the tradition. Number 14. F.W. Woolworth, Pennsylvania. Our final store stop takes us back to where the five and dime began, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. F.W. Woolworth was the democratic pillar of American retail. Founded in 1879, it offered a world of wonders for a nickel or a dime. Remember the sound of the wooden floors creaking under your feet? It was a sound as old as the century. But the real draw was the lunch counter. That specific smell of griddled grilled cheese sandwiches, fountain cherry Coke, and floor wax. For many of us, the ham salad sandwich at Woolworth's, always made with a healthy dollop of Miracle Whip, was the taste of childhood. It was a place where everyone was welcome, and where a dime could buy you a treasure or a treat. Every grand store had a signature dish. Was it the Maurice salad, the chicken pot pie, or a simple ham sandwich at the lunch counter? What is the one thing you wish you could taste one more time? Let us know in the comments. Number 15. The etiquette and the operators. Finally, we have to talk about the shopping ritual itself. Shopping wasn't a chore in the 50s and 60s. It was a women's club. White gloves were mandatory, and the elevator operators were the high priestesses of the experience. Did you know many stores sent their elevator girls to charm school? They had to learn how to enunciate words like lingerie and millinery with perfect mid-Atlantic grace. Remember the elevator girls in their crisp military-style uniforms? Going up, 4th floor, ladies' apparel, notions, and fine stationery. They moved with such poise, opening the heavy metal gates with a rhythmic snap. It felt like a choreographed dance. It reminded us that every part of the experience, even the ride between floors, was meant to be special. Did you ever have to go to charm school or take etiquette classes as a kid? Or did your mom make you wear gloves just to go downtown? Tell us your proper shopping stories. If this trip down the aisles brought a smile to your face or a tug at your heart today, please hit that like button. It really helps us keep these histories alive. Subscribe to join our nostalgic family. And do me a favor, share this video with your siblings or your own grandchildren tonight. Tell them about the pink pig or the walnut room. Let's keep these beautiful stories breathing.